Hello everyone, this is Josh with Access. Sorry I'm a little late, I'm just testing some technical setup, just making sure I had the right microphone setup. And just testing some microphone setup, making sure I had it correct. Sorry for being late, this is Josh with Access. I'll wait a couple of seconds here, maybe a minute or two, just waiting to see if we can get some more people. Meanwhile, I'll just do some finishing touches. Hopefully your 4th of July weekend is going well. If it's anything like mine, I was able to start the morning doing nothing, just spend time to myself. That's okay. I like spending my weekends that way. Let's see. Okay, just a little bit longer. Alright, I'll just start. So hello everyone, if you just joined or you didn't notice at the beginning of the video, I'm Josh with Access and I'm one of the housing advocates. And I'm here to talk to you because without a doubt we're living in some interesting times and there's a lot of feelings going around, feelings of anxiety, uncertainty, anger, confusion, just to name a few. And that can be very overwhelming, and that's just talking emotionally. So while you're busy trying to take care of your loved ones and other people, it's also important to take good care of yourself as well. And there's hundreds of videos on self-care practices you can look up and plenty of articles that you can follow. But one I want to talk to you about today is one that everyone can do and one that engages a more creative side to you that I feel not a lot of us are in tune with, or as in tune with as we'd like to think. And I'm going to do one with a form of art that anyone can do, one called Blackout poetry. And it's okay if you're not a poet or you don't do a lot of writing. That's okay. I don't really consider myself a poet, even though I do write some. But I feel Blackout poetry is very nice because it's very accessible. Anyone can do it. And I'm just here to give you a little bit of guidance and tips on how you can start doing that. So to start off, I want to share a quote about art, spoken by one of my favorite authors. Remember that whatever discipline you are in, whether you're a musician or a photographer or a fine artist or a designer, whatever you do, you have one thing that's unique, and you have the ability to make art. It gets you through good times and it gets you through other ones. Life is sometimes hard. Things go wrong in life, in love, in business, in relationships, in friendships, and in health, and in all the other ways that life can go wrong. And when things get tough, this is what you should do. Make good art. IRS on your trail? Make good art. Somebody on the internet thinks what you do is stupid or evil or it's all been done before? Make good art. Probably things will work out somehow, and eventually time will take the sting away, but that doesn't matter. Do only what you do best, and make good art. And make it on the good days too. That's a nice little quote Neil Gaiman gave at a commencement speech in May of 2012 to a group of artists, but I also think that it can apply to anyone. If you're in times where emotional stress is really getting to you, just take some time to calm yourself and try to make some art. Even if you don't consider yourself an artist, there's just something therapeutic about putting words or colors or sketches to a page and just having that moment to yourself. So, I want to tell you about a form that I think is very fun and very unique called Blackout poetry. Just to give an example, an end result of Blackout poetry can kind of look like this. Words that are circled but are also colored around, and it's a form of a poem. So basically what it is, you take a piece of paper out of a book, so just rip one out. I recommend you do it on an old book or one you don't mind being damaged. Don't steal one from your friend. If you don't happen to have any old books, you can always ask a friend or family member, see if they have books lying around, or go to a used book sale. That's just a gold mine of material. I took one from this copy of a Hunger Games book I had lying around. So I got a lot of poetry that had fires and arrows in it. And so you get this blank page, and then you just go through and circle words that stick out to you. I would also challenge you to kind of pick some words you don't use in everyday life, ones that kind of look fun and ones that probably push your lingo a little bit. So you just go through and circle, underline it, and then when you're done with that, just take a step back, look at it, and just kind of see what you had arranged there. And then when you feel comfortable with your word choice, circle some of those words. Now, if you don't feel too comfortable with how the words look, go back through and find connecting words that can help make them make a little coherent sense. So, for example, common ones are and, or the, or any other conjunctions like that. And then when you feel satisfied, go back through and circle some of those words. So it'll look a little bit like this. And then when that is done, I recommend you just take a black marker and you start to black out the words that are not the ones you circled. So you just go through, and then it will look something like this. And when you have that done, you've pretty much got your blackout poetry finished. So I'll kind of read the one I had here. A wooden cold, too heartsick to forget. I think of bird cages inside me, but the lightness is subdued. Relieved by a cold soup of wild watercress, dotted with attempts at conversation that love something like a team. I'm always surprised with how coherent some of these come out when I do them, and there are going to be some times where you do one and it doesn't make any sense, and that's okay. The point of this art isn't to be perfect or to make it live up to anyone's standards. This is just for you to just take in these words and then just be calm and find a way to make them work and make it your own. And sometimes if you don't feel happy with what you've got, I just recommend being creative with it. For example, you can just cut them up and then rearrange them and glue them on a piece of paper to make a different poem. That's something David Bowie did with some of his lyrics, and it worked pretty well if you ask me. So if you aren't happy with what you ended up with, be creative. You can choose to cut it up, or you can just try to make it a longer form poem. Get another page in, black out some words, circle some, add it in. And so another thing to realize with blackout poetry is it kind of helps expand your vocabulary a little bit. Every day we stick with the words we're pretty familiar with because we're comfortable with that. Not a lot of us want to go out of our comfort zone with words we're unfamiliar with. With blackout poetry, it kind of forces you to use words that you don't use every day, and it's kind of healthy in that way. It helps expand your mind a little bit. So I would challenge you to do that. Circle words that you're not totally familiar with and try to incorporate it into poetry. It's really amazing how sometimes it turns out into something very profound and unique. And another thing, I advise you just be as creative with it as possible. So this one, while it works, it looks like a redacted government document, and so that's not terribly entertaining. Seems a little too bureaucratic for my taste. So again, go ahead and make it as colorful as possible. And sometimes I just like to incorporate theme with it. This one was based around the night sky. So this is what I had with it. It's not finished. I need to finish this little whiteout area. That makes me sick looking at that. But I like the poems. And this one was out of a Hunger Games book. So I kind of did one based on that. So be as creative as you want about it. And I think most importantly, be kind to yourself when you're doing this. This is for you. The point isn't to make something perfect. The point is to just make something. This is your time to be with yourself and to be with these words and just spend time to yourself reflecting. And what's also great, you can also do this with writings that really give you a strong emotional reaction. For example, I recently came across a book that I read about 10 years ago, and I did not like what that book had to say or some of the things it was saying. So I use blackout poetry on it. I take those words and change it into something new, so those words don't go out and hurt people ever again. So be kind to yourself. Use this time to make art and understand this is for you. It doesn't have to be for anyone else. So go out there, make good art, and understand this is for you and this is your time. So enjoy it and have fun. Thank you.